Hey guys, what's up? It's Nikki, and you are listening to Evolution by Nikki, the podcast. Before I get into today's episode, which is episode 5, the first time, part 2, I just want to take a second to tell you why I'm a little bit late posting today. So, Monday evening / Tuesday morning, about 3:30 in the morning, I got these terrible pains in my stomach, all over cramping, but at the same time, it wasn't just nausea, it was like actual pain. And I had no idea at first what it was. I started to feel even more sick as the night went on. I woke up on Tuesday morning, forced myself to go to work because I felt bad, and went to work. I was there for not even a half hour. By 7:30, 8 o'clock, I was profusely vomiting in the bathroom, and I needed to leave. And I was so sick that I couldn't even drive my own car home. I had to have my father come and pick me up, and then they went back later to pick up my car to bring it back home for me. But the pain has been since then. I saw my primary care. My primary care gave me an abdominal ultrasound. Well, he didn't give it to me. He sent me for one, so that took another day. And he wouldn't give me a pelvic ultrasound because he wanted a transvaginal ultrasound for the pelvic because it's more accurate. And I told him that I have a history of cysts and that I have a complex hemorrhagic cyst on my right ovary. And I'm pretty sure that had burst on Tuesday night because I've only experienced this kind of pain one other time in my life, which was about 15 years ago. I was a teenager, same kind of pain, same thing, crawling on the floor to the bathroom, profusely vomiting, not being able to move. You're like lethargic, and you start to kind of like get weird brain fog, like I wasn't making sense. I definitely couldn't drive. So that has been going on nonstop, even right now. The nausea has subsided. I was given Zofran and something else for like stomach discomfort, abdominal discomfort. So those two things have helped with the nausea. But the pain, it'll subside for a little while. It'll go down from like a 10 to like a 4 or a 5. Sometimes it'll almost be good enough to be like only a 1. But then as the medicine wears off, in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping, I start getting these stabbing, shooting pains in my ovary again and again and again. And nothing is really making it go away completely. It just keeps coming back. So I'm not obviously fixing the problem. I'm just putting a Band-Aid on it. So they still wanted me to go for this transvaginal ultrasound, but I don't know about any of you women out there listening, but I don't know of any gynecologist that takes same-day appointments or walk-ins. Me saying I have an emergency like this, I don't even know if that would mean anything to them, because does a ruptured cyst qualify as an emergency, or does a, full-term mom in labor, in her bathroom qualify as an emergency? Like, I don't know where I fall on the priority scale here. But I know that they don't have same-day appointments because I've tried before. And at the gynecologist that I go to, you literally have to book an appointment weeks to months in advance. So I didn't even get that yet. The only one that I had gotten was the abdominal. But I woke up again this morning at 3:50 in severe pain, those stabbing, shooting pains again, and it's been like that ever since. So I decided it's finally time to go to the ER because this is not normal. When I had this last time, it lasted for about 2 days, and then it was over. Now we're on to day 4 with this, and it's just not getting any better. So we are going to be going to the ER at 9 a.m. this morning. We're going to Monmouth Medical. So just keep me in your thoughts, please, if you can. That's what I will be spending my day doing. As I stated previously, this is episode 5, the first time, part 2. So I'd like to start this episode by giving a brief timeline of my life up until this point of the story. So right now I'm focusing only on 1988 through 1998, so about 10 years. After my parents divorced, I lived with my mom in an apartment on Avenue E in Bayonne. In 1998, our landlord, Pat, raised our rent, which at the time I believe was only $665. I feel like that number sounds familiar. I feel like it stands out in my head as being what I heard her say every month. So I'm just going to stick with it. So in 1988, we moved to the other side of town, and I switched schools. Our new block was really amazing. Had a lot of kids. Our new neighbors were so friendly. I even started a dog walking business with a new friend from the block. Life was great. Things were going great despite having to move and switch schools. You can ask anyone, especially my friends at this time and the people on the block. My mom threw the best parties. She would have crazy seances out in my yard in a tent with like 5 of my best girlfriends sleeping over, doing the Ouija board. You name it, she did it. She really was involved in my life, and she really did love me. I know she did. But that doesn't mean that there was not a manipulative side to her, which I have already outlined in episode 3, Mommy Issues. But she really was great. I really do miss those times. And that's the worst part about this whole thing is that, as shitty as all the situations that she put me in were, I still loved her. I still miss her. I'm still sad. I still cry. I don't get another chance to help her. I don't get another chance to fix things and make things right. And I wish I did. She would do crafts with me constantly. I loved the shit out of my mom. Despite all of the emotional and psychological pain she put me through, I still loved her. Everyone thought she was amazing with kids and so creative. She would do art projects with me and my cousins, me and my friends, all the time. In 2002, which is the year that I graduated from Holy Family, things changed drastically. My mother had always had back pain and sciatica for years due to the nature of her job. Like I said, she was a hairdresser and on her feet a large majority of the day. So eventually she developed some back issues. She was being treated for this pain and degenerative disc disease. I know this because I often went to the appointments with her. My mother had 2 local Bayonne doctors, pill mills if you ask me, who would prescribe her Perks and Vicodin for the pain. The milligrams would constantly increase because she would show up month after month and claim that the meds weren't strong enough. They labeled it as breakthrough pain and prescribed OxyContin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the beginning of the end. She would show up at Dr. X and complain of more pain, get a script, then go to Dr. Y, complain of more pain, get a script, and then she would go to 2 separate pharmacies and she would pay cash because she didn't have insurance. And at this time, NDC numbers, which is the National Drug Code numbers, and scripts in general weren't being tracked in the same way that they are now. I should know, after all, I was working at the pharmacy when she was getting half of her scripts filled there. Well, this went on for years. I was about 13 when we moved from uptown Bayonne to downtown. My mother met a guy, a local plumber, who had money but was an absolutely disgusting human being. This man had a kid and wanted a stepmom for him desperately. My mom obliged. I was her maid of honor. The whole thing was fucking bizarre. I knew the truth about everything that was going on. But they both sat there and smiled and said, I do. Behind the scenes was anything but I do material. His son had severe mental health and personal hygiene issues. Hell, so did the guy my mom married, actually. Once she was engaged and the planning started, that's when the drugs really started flowing. Little did I know that this man who was financially bailing us out of bankruptcy was an addict himself. My mother, basically working minimally at this time because she was often too high to function, was so flaky that she began to lose all of her clients because she wouldn't take them. Even the most important clients, the ones that she's had forever, the ones that she said were big deals in Bayonne, the ones that she promised she would always make time for. It's at this time where she began finding, now this is going to be very hard for people to understand because I don't even understand it myself, and it happened in my life. So, just warning. She began to find underwear with shit in them, balled up in corners of the bathroom, of his room, of anywhere, and also behind the washing machine. And they actually started to blame my mom. He convinced my mom they both convinced my mom that she was crazy and that no one was shitting in underwear and hiding them, and that it was in fact her shitting in the underwear and hiding them around the house. And it literally drove my mother insane. And the more and more that this went on, and the more and more that they tried to convince her that she was crazy, the more and more drugs she was doing because she was escaping from what was going on in her life. Well, turns out that this kid didn't like missing out on the fun. He had severe FOMO. So when he was outside playing with his friends, he didn't want to come inside and miss out on what they were doing. So he would shit his pants and deal with it later. At some points, he was even wearing a diaper to school. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes I can't even believe what I'm saying. Like, I think about what I say after I say it, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this sounds freaking ludicrous right now. But it gets worse. As my mom was becoming more and more addicted, she stopped doing all the things she once loved, like cooking, crafts, hair, etc. When I was 13, she stopped waking me up for school. She stopped worrying about what I was going to eat. She wasn't cooking for me. She wasn't up to date on any bills. Our heat would often be shut off. Sometimes the electricity would be off and I wouldn't be able to use the washing machine to wash my school uniform. So I would have to either wear it dirty or violate the uniform policy. And I've done both. And let me tell you that the Sisters of St. Joseph do not take kindly to you being out of uniform. They really don't want to hear it. I was constantly in trouble in school because I was always late, since no one ever woke me up and I was all on my own. And in addition to being late, I was constantly out of uniform because I never had clean clothes. I'm actually doing a whole episode on Holy Family, so if you're a Falcon, You might want to listen to that one, but I think you get the point. She was too high to take care of her own daughter. So here's where the first time comes in. The first time that I knew that I had lost her was when I hadn't seen her in 3 days. She was in her bedroom, locked in her bedroom, for 3 whole days. And I was already used to being on my own, so I kind of didn't even think anything of it at that point. But on the 3rd day, I got a little nervous because she has a bathroom in her room, and she also had a mini fridge, so she didn't need to leave for food or for drinks or to go to the bathroom. So I really legitimately hadn't seen her in 3 days. So I took a credit card and I jimmied the door open because she wouldn't answer. And I found her laying there, like, just sprawled out on the bed, naked, profusely sweating, makeup all over her face, eyeliner everywhere, mascara everywhere. And she was completely incoherent. I tried to wake her up, and she was just mumbling and not making sense, and her eyes were, still closed, basically, barely open at all. And then all of a sudden she starts asking me if I see all the people. And I didn't know what she was talking about. So I said, "What people? What are you talking about?" And then she gets up out of the bed. She takes me into her bathroom where there's a skylight. And she says, "Don't you see all the people?" I said, "What people, Ma? What are you talking about?" She said, "All the people in the pews. Isn't it so beautiful?" She thought she was in church. Meanwhile, she was naked in her bathroom, in her home, high off her ass on Oxy. And that was the first time I knew. Thank you guys so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. And please keep me in your thoughts. I'm going to be going to the ER at like 9 o'clock, and I really don't want to go. But again, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye.